Now, let's go to the next concept. Now here, the next concept that we are going to learn is Newton's universal law of gravitation. Now previously we had learnt everything about Kepler, we learned his three laws. Now we are going to learn about Newton. Now which law did he make? What does his law explain? That everything we are going to learn. But after Kepler, what did Newton start learning? That we are going to see. Kepler was not able to explain whether there is the force in between the two objects or not. Whether there is a force in between the two objects or not, that was not possible for Kepler to explain. So here, who worked on it? On that, the work was done by Newton, the great scientist Sir Isaac Newton, who put forth the concept of gravitational force by earth. Now that we are going to learn further, but let's see first that which law did he make, and his law, the law made by Newton, is called as Newton's universal law of gravitation. Now what is this universal law of gravitation? Now see here children, again I have taken the same this sellotape, the roll of the sellotape in my hand. The sellotape is in my hand here. Now it is in my hand, I am here. My question is, I am not getting attracted towards the sellotape and the sellotape is not getting attracted towards me. It is on its own place, I am on my own place. Then is there the gravitational force in between both of us? This is the question. Suppose in the classroom, you are sitting besides your friend on one bench. You are there stable on your own place and your friend is stable on his own place. Is there any force of attraction between both of you, or is there gravitational force in between both of you by which you both can come close to each other? Is there any force acting on it? Think a while. Yes, there is the force of attraction, and this only has been proved by Newton in his law of gravitation. Let's see what did he prove. First of all, we will see with the help of the diagram. Consider the two objects. Let one object, its mass be m1. Let this be the second object, its mass be m2. So here, there is the force of attraction between m1 and m2. Now, if the force that m1 acts on m2 is in this direction, then the force that m2 acts on m1 is in this direction. Means we can say that according to Newton's third law of motion, that which already you have learnt in 9th standard, that every action has an equal but opposite reaction. So here, if m1 is acting the force in forward direction, means m2 also acts the force in the backward direction. That's why these forces are showed in this arrow or these two directions. Now, this force which has been acted by both the objects, this force is directly proportional to the product of the masses. Now, suppose instead of this small two objects, if big objects are placed, here one big object is placed, here one big object is placed, then as the size of the object increases, will the force increase? Yes, the force in between both the objects, it will increase. Why? Because the size increase means the mass of the object has increased. Now, instead of increasing the mass of this object, what I will do? I will keep the masses same and I will pull this m1 back here. Now, if I pull this m1 back at this point, means what I have done? I have increased the distance. I have increased the distance here. Now, if the distance between m1 and m2 increases, then what will happen to the force in between them? the force which is there in between them, that decreases. Now just see children, if I take two magnets in my hand, if two magnets are in my hand, if they are closer to each other, there will be more magnetic field in between them. But if I take them away from each other, what will happen? As the distance increases, the magnetic force will go on decreasing. The same is the concept which is here also. As the distance between the two objects increases, the force in between the two objects goes on decreasing. Now, if one object is increasing and the other one is decreasing, means sure it is inverse proportion. So, how we can write the mathematical expression of this law which was made by Newton? That is, the force acting in between two objects is directly proportional to the product of the masses in between them. Force which is there in between both the objects is directly proportional to the product of the masses of both the objects and is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between both the objects. So, here I can write F directly proportional to m1 m2 and inversely proportional to the r square, that is r is the distance between the two objects. Now, to remove the proportionality sign, one constant of proportion has to be added. Now, which is the constant of proportion added here? It is capital G. Now, what does capital G stand for? Capital G stands for universal gravitational constant. Again, I am repeating, capital G is called as universal gravitational constant. This value of this capital G is constant anywhere in the universe. That's why we can write the formula of universal law of gravitation as F. F stands for force. Capital G stands for universal gravitational constant. M1, M2, product means multiplication, that is M1 into M2. Now, what is M1? M1 is mass of one object, M2 is mass of other object. So, F is equal to G M1 M2 upon R square. Here R stands for the distance between both the objects. So, now let us read the law. What does the law state? This question for 1 mark state Newton's law of gravitation. So, here what does Newton's universal law of gravitation state? It states that every object in the universe attracts every other object with a definite force. This force is directly proportional to the product of masses of two objects and is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. That is, F is equal to G m1 m2 upon r square. Force is directly proportional to the product of the masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Now, see here children, if we double the masses, now here if it is 1 kg and here if it is 1 kg, instead of that if I double them, I make this 2 and this 2, then what will happen to the force? The force is also going to get increased, means as this value of mass increases, as the force is directly proportional to the product of the masses, as mass increases, the force is also going to increase. But instead of that, if I increase the distance, now here the distance is r. If I make it 3r, 3r means here if I keep the another object, means the distance has increased. So, if the distance increases, what will happen to the force? If the distance between the two objects increases, then sure the force in between the two objects go on decreasing. Is it clear? As they are inversely proportional. Now, here as I told, this G is the universal gravitational constant. Let us see what is its unit and what is the value of capital G. Capital G is the constant of proportionality and is called as universal gravitational constant. Its SI unit is G. The SI unit of G, that is the universal gravitational constant, is Newton meter square kg raised to minus 2. Now, how this unit has come? For that, let's see the formula. If I want to make the formula for G, means I have to shift these two on this side. I have to shift m1, m2 and I have to shift r square here. So, how should I shift? This r square which is there in the denominator, it will go in numerator, and m1, m2 which is there in the numerator, it will come in the denominator when it will change its place. So, here let us see what is the unit of G that we can make. It is Newton, which is the unit of force. R square, distance is measured in meter, the MKS unit is meter, so it will be meter square. So, here it will be Newton meter square. Now, this m1, m2 will come down. The unit of mass is kg. So, kg into kg, it will be kg square. So, Newton meter square upon kg square. Now, to bring this kg square on the top, that is in the numerator, according to the law of indices, when the index changes its position, it becomes opposite. So, here the unit of universal gravitational constant is Newton meter square kg raised to minus 2 or kg power of minus 2. This is the unit of capital G. Now, what is its value? Its value, as it is the universal constant, its value remains the same. Nowhere in the universe the value of G changes. And what is the value of this capital G? It is 6.673 into 10 raised to minus 11 Newton meter square kg raised to minus 2. So, this question, what's the value of universal constant? It can be asked, or its unit can be asked. So, again we repeat, the unit of capital G, that is universal gravitational constant, is Newton meter square kg raised to minus 2, and its value is 6.673 into 10 raised to minus 11 Newton meter square kg raised to minus 2. So, here this was everything about the force which acts in between two objects, the formula for the force, the value of the gravitational constant, the unit of gravitational constant, and this everything was proved by the great scientist, that is Sir Isaac Newton. Now, further, let's see what he proved further. You can see the heading, inverse square law of gravitation. Previously, we had seen Newton's law of gravitation, and this is its inverse square law. So, here what Newton did? Newton, from the third law of motion, Kepler's third law of motion, he proved his own law, that is, force is directly proportional to the product of masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. This is Newton's law of gravitation, and this was proved from Kepler's law, third law, that is, the time taken by the planet to revolve around the sun is directly proportional to the square of the, cube of the mean of the distance between the sun and the planet, that is t square directly proportional to r cube. So, here it has been proved from that mathematical equation. So, let us see how it is proved. Now, see here children, the first one is written here, the formula for centripetal force is equal to mv square upon r. Now, previously we have seen what is the definition of centripetal force. The force acting on any of the object and which is directed towards the center is called as centripetal force. Now, what is the formula for this centripetal force? It is mv square upon r. Now, here what does m stand for? M stands for mass of the object. V stands for velocity of the object and R stands for the radius of the object. Is it clear? So now let's see here from how this inverse square law of gravitation is proved. Now let us see, children. The speed of the planet can be expressed in the term of period of revolution, that is t, as follows. Now see here, children, the distance travelled by the planet in one revolution. Now suppose, consider here one elliptical figure we have got. Suppose there is a planet here and it is moving around the sun in a certain period, then this period of revolution is called as t. Now if I ask you measure the length of the circle, how to measure the length of the circle? The length of the circle is nothing but the perimeter of the circle. Now here if I ask measure the length of this orbit, means you have to measure the perimeter. Now if it is the perimeter, then what is the formula for perimeter? The formula for perimeter is 2 pi r. You all must be remembering, it is a mathematical formula. The formula to find the perimeter, that is the circumference of the circle, is nothing but it is 2 pi r. Perimeter of this orbit means what it is? It is the circumference and its formula is 2 pi r. So now let's see. According to the formula of velocity, velocity is what? The distance travelled by an object in the given direction upon time taken. Now here, how much distance the object has taken? The distance that the planet has covered is complete one revolution and it is nothing but it is the circumference. So the formula for circumference is 2 pi r upon time taken. Let the time taken be capital T. So 2 pi r upon capital T. Now let's substitute this value of V in the formula of centripetal force. So we can write here F is equal to mv square upon r. Now substitute the value of V, that is 2 pi r, in its own place here. So it will be m into bracket 2 pi r upon t whole bracket square divided by r. Now let's find the square of it. 2 square is 4, m will remain as it is, pi square into r square. Now here is r square and here is one r. So this r and this r gets cancelled from here. So only one r remains. Now here 4m pi square r upon square of t, that is t square. Now children, what you have to do? You have to multiply and divide this equation by r square. So here by r square we have to multiply in the numerator also and by r square we have to multiply in the denominator also. So if we multiply by r square in numerator, it becomes r cube. So here what happens? 4m pi square upon r square into r cube upon t square. Now what is Kepler's third law? T square is directly proportional to r cube. To remove the proportionality sign, we can write t square upon r cube is equal to k. If t square upon r cube is k, then what is r cube upon t square? R cube upon t square is 1 upon k. So we write here 4m pi square upon r square into k. But 4m pi square upon k, they are constant. 4, it is constant. M, it is mass of the object, that will be constant. Pi, value of pi is constant. K, this is nothing but the constant of proportionality. So all these 4 values are constant. Then who is changing? Only r square. So F is equal to constant into r square, or F is inversely proportional to r square, and that only is proved in Newton's law of gravitation. That is, the force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Hence, Newton proved his law with the help of Kepler's third law. That's why it is called as inverse square law of gravitation. Let's go to the further. Low and high tides. I think these two concepts are very familiar. We all go to the beaches or on the seashore, and there we experience these high tides and low tides. When does the high tide, when do we say that high tide has taken place? When the water level goes on increasing or water level increases, we say that it is the high tide. What do you mean by low tide then? When the water level decreases, that is said to be low tide. Now here, who caused this high tide and low tide? Who is the, or what is the cause behind it? As we have learnt in Newton's law of gravitation that every two objects on the universe attract each other, or there is the force of attraction between any two objects on the in the universe. So here there is the earth, look at the figure, here it is the earth and here it is the moon. Earth attracts the moon and even moon attracts the earth. There is the force of attraction or the gravitational force in between the earth and the moon. Earth applies the force, gravitational force on moon, and moon applies the gravitational force on earth. Due to the gravitational force that is exerted by the moon on the earth, what changes on the earth does it occur? When the earth exerts the gravitational force on the, when the moon exerts the gravitational force on the earth, the water level or the water which comes just below the moon directly increases its level. See here, water directly under the moon gets pulled towards it. It increases its level, means due to the force it gets pulled towards it, and that's why the water level increases. If the water level increases, means at that time we say that high tide has occurred. Now in a day, twice high tide and low tide takes place. So here, if high tide is there, now just see here, if the water level has increased, then here high tide will be there. Then if you make a right angle, then exactly at the location at right angle there will be low tide. So here it will be low tide and here it will be low tide. Here it will be high tide and here also it will be high tide. So we say that the high tides and the low tide, they occur twice a day at periodic intervals. And at what time the high tide will be there, at what time the low tide will be there, these timings are changing. Daily they are not the same. So here, write a short note on low tide and high tide, or write a short note on how do tides occur. For that you have to explain all these things. It can be asked for 2 marks. So here, the tides are caused due to the gravitational force exerted by the moon on the earth.